First of all, a big thank you to everybody for making time to come here to this afternoon to hear about what is a quite an important day here for the Authority and for Australia. It's about where we're releasing the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority's 2019 Great Barrier Reef Outlook Report. The Great Barrier Reef, we have to remember, is a really vast and very spectacular and an ecosystem, one of the most complex places on the world. It's big, it's complex, it's beautiful. Its natural beauty, natural phenomena and heritage values endure and underpin, as we all know here, significant social, cultural, but also economic benefits for Australia. I'd like now to hand over to Josh, who'll say a few more words about the report itself, and then we'll open up for questions.
Well, thanks very much, Ian. I really would just like to stress just how important this report is. It is the most comprehensive synthesis of all known scientific information on the Great Barrier Reef in recent years, and will be the foundation on which we stand to better manage the reef in time. It's true, the outlook for the Great Barrier Reef is found to be very poor, and there are good reasons for that. The 2016 bleaching events, cyclonic activity over the past 5 years, and cumulative impacts in catchments, and particularly things like illegal fishing having a particular impact. What I think the report also does is really confirm that we know what the threats are. We know climate change is the biggest impact. We know water quality continues to be a pressure, particularly in inshore systems. And we know that we're focused on those things. We know we are doing the right things by the reef to alleviate some of those pressures. No one entity can look after the reef alone, no one authority, no one jurisdiction. It takes a global effort, a collaborative effort with partners along the reef, the tourism industry, traditional owners, and everyday citizens to make this vibrant asset protected well into the future. I'm happy to take any questions.
This is very poor classification. Is it the worst classification the reef's ever been handed?
My understanding is that for outlook reports, yes, that's the case. This is the third outlook report since 2009. There was one in 2009, 2014 and now this year, and the consistent trend has been downward.
Right. The difference between very poor and the previous poor, can you clarify that for us?
I might hand over to the Director of the Outlook team just to clarify some of that technical detail.
So the very poor rating, the main difference between poor and very poor, it's for the long-term outlook for the ecosystem, if we could just clarify that. And so it's a forward-looking outlook for the region. And the difference is really about the spatial coverage of the degradation that has occurred to numerous habitats, species and values over that extent. So the very poor covers that larger spatial area, whereas poor is smaller areas affected.
We're hearing sort of more and more conflicting stories about the health of the reef, and hearing scientists as well as politicians say it is healthy, and some are denying climate change. Is this problematic, and what are the consequences of that?
So I'll make a couple of points there. The Great Barrier Reef is a vast, interconnected system of some 3,000 reefs. There are bright spots, beautiful spots, and there are other spots that have been damaged in recent years. So look, I think both is true. Public debate or public conjecture of a polarising nature is unhelpful. It's a complex ecosystem with complex pressures afoot, but it's absolutely true that the reef remains intact, beautiful, and healthy in large areas.
You said you need to act now. What action and in what time frame needs to happen?
Look, I think the most obvious action that needs to be taken is ongoing action on climate change at a global level. Coral reefs and marine ecosystems globally are being affected by climate change, so action taken now will make the biggest difference to the reef's long-term future. But it's also true that ongoing management actions remain critically important as well. Our authority is running a comprehensive crown of thorns culling program to alleviate pressures on crown of thorns coral predation. We're also working with catchment partners, traditional owner groups, school communities to improve their understanding about how they can contribute as well.
The UN will use this report to determine if the reef's health has improved since 2014 in order to retain the cultural heritage status. Based on this report, can we retain that cultural heritage status?
Well, look, decisions around the status of the reef in the eyes of the World Heritage Committee are a matter for the World Heritage Committee. This report is a significant one though, and we will absolutely feed that into how we review our world-leading Reef 2050 plan over time, how we report to the World Heritage Committee through the State of Conservation reporting cycle, and we'll be putting all that information forward to them.
Overall, should this report, should the findings come as a surprise to Australia?
No, look, absolutely not. The last 5 years we've seen 2 significant bleaching events as a result of climate change, multiple impacts of cyclone activity, and again, cumulative impacts of coastal development, catchment runoff impacting water quality. All of those impacts over time have had a negative effect on the reef's health. So no, I don't think it should be a surprise, but I would reiterate, we are in a window of opportunity here where more action taken to address those pressures can make a difference to the long-term health of the reef. We're working in close partnership with people along the Queensland coastline to make sure that that happens, and we'll keep our shoulder to the wheel in doing so.
Some more action from all levels of government on climate change you think needs to happen to save the reef?
I'd say any action on climate change to reduce emissions at all tiers of government, by industry, by local community groups is critically important. The World Heritage Committee has previously said that Australia is an exemplar manager of the World Heritage Area. We have a Reef 2050 plan that's received critical acclaim from that audience. We're working very closely with the Queensland government in partnership with all other managing institutions, science agencies, to improve the long-term outlook of the Great Barrier Reef. I think Australia needs to be proud of that arrangement, proud of the partnerships that we've put in place to make sure that the reef is managed for future generations. Just to refer back to the question about whether or not, is the reef dead or is it all fine? Again, I'd just like to reiterate that neither is entirely true. It's a complex situation, it's a complex reef. But what I can say is that as the Chief Executive Officer of the Authority, I've been out on the reef multiple times. It's a privilege to do so. Every time I'm out there, I find something else beautiful to fall in love with, and I would ask all people who haven't been out there to get out there, see the coral, see the fish, see the wondrous marine life that we have here on our doorstep in Queensland.